Hey, welcome to the Hangar Z podcast, brought to you by Vertical Helicasts. In this three-part series, Jeff Ratkovich and I sit down with the industry's best airborne tactical instructors to discuss the importance of training and collaboration in the industry. This series has an all-star lineup, including Jack Schonely, Clay Lacey, and Nick Minx. Jack Schonely spent over 30 years with the Los Angeles Police Department. He's a nationally recognized expert in the area of suspect tactics and perimeter containment, and is a sought-after tactical trainer. As you will quickly learn from his experience, he is uniquely qualified to instruct and write on the topics of perimeter containment, search techniques, tactics used by suspects, use of force, and a variety of other aircrew topics. Jack has participated in over 2,000 perimeter containments during his career and has seen many successes and failures. He has shared his experience with thousands of law enforcement officers across the world instructing on this topic. He is the author of Apprehending Fleeing Suspects, Suspect Tactics, and Perimeter Containment, and has been published in numerous publications relating to this topic. We also get to hear from Lieutenant Clay Lacey, who is currently employed by the Texas Department of Public Safety. In 2000, Lieutenant Lacey was special assigned to the Texas DPS Aviation Operations Division as a task force tactical flight officer, where he worked hundreds of flights and thousands of hours in support of criminal manhunts, surveillance, search and rescue, vehicle pursuits, foot pursuits, and airborne use of force. Lieutenant Lacey developed the Texas DPS TFO training program from the ground up and currently serves as the TFO instructor within the unit. Lieutenant Lacey teaches around the world on behalf of the Airborne Public Safety Association and individual law enforcement units seeking additional specialized instruction. He authors equipment procurement and bid specifications for the Texas DPS and serves as a consultant for companies conducting large-scale emergency management and preparedness planning throughout the U.S. Last but not least is Nick Minx, who's the owner of Tactical Flying. Nick Minx manages day-to-day operations while playing an active role in training and development. A sworn officer for nearly 20 years with the San Diego Police Department, Nick was assigned to SDPD's Air Support Unit as a TFO in 2012. He has since become qualified as a helicopter pilot and has over 3,000 combined hours working both seats in an aircraft and continues to hone his skill as a tactical operator. In particular, Nick has always been fascinated by the study of suspect behavior. Using incident videos and FLIR finds, he compiles data to track patterns of movement in fleeing suspects and applies this information toward the continuous improvement of techniques and training in suspect searches. As part of Tactical Flying, Nick has provided instruction to tactical flight operators in both domestic and international settings, with clients ranging from military and law enforcement officers to federal agencies. I'd like to add these great gentlemen are also co-hosts on the Hangar Z podcast, so look out for episodes where they share their knowledge and passion for the industry. Thank you to our sponsors, Anodyne Electronics Manufacturing, Greenwich Aero Group, and Robinson Helicopters. Cheers.
Welcome to the Hangar Z podcast, brought to you by Vertical Helicasts. The Hangar Z podcast is the first and only podcast dedicated to promoting and exploring the personnel and equipment behind the missions in public safety aviation. Join your host, Jon Gray, Jeff Ratkovich, and Jack Schonely.
Still southbound, skidding to a stop. Stand by here. Looks like they're getting ready to bail. Heads up, guys, bailing. Okay, the guy, he's running through the house, jumping the fence, through the shotgun, through something out. Grabbing the shotgun. Don't go over that fence. Don't go over that fence. Grab the shotgun again. He is armed. Stay there. Hold your position.
4 on the stop. You're in custody.
Good advising code 4 on the stop.
So Nick, I know you're short on time, so I want to kind of pass this to you before you have to split, if you have to split.
I'm good.
But
make sure you do the exit.
Yeah. There it is. I'm not leaving yet. That was a good practice on that. Look
for folks that are, limited on either their budget or maybe their ability to even get to training, what do you guys offer that folks could take away and view in a way that provides training for these situations we're talking about?
Well, no ideas off the table, most importantly. But the biggest thing right now is our digital e-course. It's a 16 module, about 14 hours worth of training, multi-module digital web-based learning of our main 2-day comprehensive thermal tactics course. So this is the course that you typically see a version of at AppsCon. If you've been to some of the conferences, this is what we would show up and teach to agencies in person if you are an agency and you've been to one of those. But what it really is that you have the ability from your hangar, your car seat when you're sitting in traffic commuting to work, your phone, wherever, you can basically participate or attend our 2-day thermal tactics class that covers everything from aviation safety, suspect apprehension, IR tactics, to vehicle pursuits, foot pursuits, suspect tactics, and so on. The goal of tactical flying at this point now is to do two things. It's to improve accessibility to training, and then number two is to create power users. And so, John, I can't remember if we were talking about it during the podcast or earlier, but the example I use is the iPhone. Most people are a smartphone, and they barely use it to its full power. I mean, we bought a new house a couple of years ago, or we moved, and the last time we moved was like 15 years before that. Every mortgage document was signed. It was an e-signing on my phone. I didn't do anything in paper. I think we notarized something, but the iPhones or the smartphones have so much power now. And it's the same thing with the sensors. The sensors are incredible. We're not using them to their fullest ability. And when you start using it to your fullest ability, you go back to that chain that I talked about. We're trying to get as close as we can to the dollar for dollar side. Sorry, I do this in the screen, but if this is 0% return on investment to full return on investment, we want that needle to get as far over to dollar for dollar return on investment. Your agency is going to spend all this money. Let's use that stuff to its fullest power. And so any of our courses, we will teach remotely, set it up to live broadcast it to your hangar. The thermal tactics course is the only course that's an on-demand course for right now. We've got the drone tactical apprehension course that's in progress. We're recording that one. We have another course that we're recording that is going to address some different equipment that's in the field. But basically, if you go on our website or contact me, I'll send you our total course curriculum. And any one of those we will teach remotely if we have to. But like I said, I don't want you to lose out on training for one reason or another. If it's a cost, let me know. I can work around that. We have options. We can do a regional event, invite all your neighbors, and then I have a process for you to be able to split the cost. If it's simply a logistics issue, okay, let's split it up into different events. But nothing yet has come up short of somebody just saying like, well, we just are not going to pay anything. We want it for free. And even then, I mean, sometimes, I can, depending if it's at a conference or, there's stuff around it, but our goal is to improve the accessibility to training. We will bend over backwards to get the training into your hands so you can go out and just crush it, make your unit look good, and have fun. Like, it gets boring going out and flying around and never capturing anybody. Yeah. But now you have this $1 million sensor, or you have this brand new helicopter or fixed wing or a drone or whatever it is. And we really see this in the drone segments right now, is that these guys have kind of transitioned over from like a public safety type, or a public disaster type thing. We're using them for floods or, crowd control, observing the crowd. But now they want to catch bad guys. Okay, well, you got to know what it looks like to catch a bad guy from there. So we have a course, for that. How do you legally, ethically, and responsibly utilize your drone as a law enforcement officer in the law enforcement mission, as opposed to just, I'm a cop and I bought a drone and now I'm going to use it. You have to have some training to go along with that. But any of the courses, we will come up with whatever idea you need to make it happen, all over the world. We've got Harold based in Europe now. So that's cut down on travel costs. He can take off from there, get out, it's basically a forward operating base for us. I've got guys kind of throughout the US and all over. So very flexible to get that training. And I don't want, whether it's an agency or an individual, to miss out simply because of something that I can probably address, cost, logistics, or whatnot. We've got a ton of good ideas and ways to make this stuff happen.
Yeah. Thank you for that. And your passion for the industry is very evident in what you're describing in the company you built. So love what you're doing there. You brought up UAS operations, and we've all talked about the importance of the lessons learned that we've learned and passing us on to the drone operators and how we integrate those with the air crews. So this is kind of a good segue to the next question. A lot of the associations have now integrated drones into the overall conference. APSCON is one of those organizations that recently brought the drone operators in under one roof. And I think that's really good for a lot of reasons. And, at the end of the day, we're going to be working together. They're not going away. They're only a force multiplier for us, in my opinion. Yeah. So I'm excited to see how we continue to build on our experience and, make our operations more efficient. Clay, you and I have a conversation that's up and coming. Don't have a time and date yet for a drone integration type podcast, but that'll be coming soon. But Clay, we'll start with you on this next question. Talking about the conferences that are available, again, going back to some of the ones that are big, at least for us in the US, AppsCon, Echo, HAI, and PavCon in Europe, and then European Rotors. Tons of education available at these different conferences for you to attend and be a part of. I think sometimes what happens is they tend to do what they've always done, so you get what you've always got. And that's great when you're sitting in Clay's class or Jack's class and Nick's class, but sometimes you get into a class, you're like, man, why am I here? And this class has been here for a long time. What can organizations do? When I say organizations, I mean associations, to be efficient in their ability to provide training and networking for the industry?
Well, the term organizational creep is used a lot. And for those that aren't familiar with it, it's that questioning of why are we doing what we're doing, right? And a lot of times in our world, what's the answer? Well, we've always done it. And you have to be very careful with that, because if you go back, all of a sudden the thing that this originally was 10 years ago doesn't look anything like what we're doing right now, but it just drifts from the standard. So I think that can happen in the organizations also. With the organizations that you mentioned, they've got to stay forward leaning and stay ahead of why are we doing what we're doing? Why are we structuring this training this way? You brought up the drones, and I won't beat that, but they're TFOs to me, right? They're providing tactical insight to keep people safe and catch bad guys. They're aircrew people to me, and they need aircrew classes. They need Jack's class. They need Nick's class. They need to understand that, but there's a little bit of a disconnect there, and I think the big organizations could serve to bridge that gap. We noticed the new, Verticon, VAI versus HAI. They've changed their name. You've noticed that APSA has pulled in a large drone segment. I think this is good, but I think for those organizations, stop separating them on a hallway. There's a lot of carryover for both. So I think the organizations can certainly help with that in getting those drone people the training that they need. I stay awake at night worried about it, that we are going to have some footage at some point of a drone with just some terrible tactics that gets an officer shot in the face. And not to say that can't happen to a human crew, but I don't want a young man or young woman to go through that. I don't want them to go home with their drone wishing they were never at the call to start with, because they didn't do it well, they didn't handle it well. So specific to what you're saying, I think the organizations, they carry a big stick and they can help bring this together. But we've got to own some of that as aircrew members, right? I'm an old guy. There's a lot of other old guys that are like, get off my lawn, right? It's
slow down.
It's keep these drones away from. They're not going anywhere. We've got drone first responder programs here in the Metroplex. They're launching drones out of sight, out of mind, through the Bravo to calls. This is the way it is. And you're either going to figure out another reason not to be flying around 300, 400 feet, but it's you're either going to figure it out and work with it or not. And so we need to, make sure that we're staying open to our drone brothers and sisters. And I think the big organizations could help that.
You look at the way that the big organizations select the training that's available for folks that are coming. And a lot of times, if you're a good manager of an aviation unit, you're going to take a cross section of your unit, maybe a new person, someone with a middle amount of experience and a senior person, and bring them to the conference. And I think the conference should have training that applies to each one of those in different ways. How can that organization, kind of look at the training that they've got offered currently and improve upon that?
Well, it's what, Nick talked about, Jack talked about. It's, Dave Callan and Rob Monday over at SR3, just phenomenal guys. Their motto is, you don't know what you don't know. And that's so true. You don't know what's out there. So having that open mind towards bringing people in, who's to say a drone operator doesn't need to be in Jack's class? Get this out of your head that these are not compatible with one another, because they absolutely are. And the organizations can bridge that. We don't need to just get somebody a 107, hand them a DJI and say, go forth and kill bad guys.
Yeah.
It's not the way it should work. So, I think the organizations could do a lot to bring that together. And I think they're trying to. This is all moving very fast.
Yeah.
Very, very fast. There's a lot of unanswered questions, but as aircrew members on the man side, I think we have to embrace it.
Yeah. To APSCON and HEI, credit for bringing those under one roof, because I do think it's important. So on that note, Jack, what's your kind of thought, being that you've kind of been privy to all these developments over the years?
Thanks to our sponsor, Anodyne Electronics Manufacturing, a leading manufacturer of trusted special mission avionics for law enforcement, aerial firefighting, and utility operators. Visit www.aem-corp.com and learn how AEM's digital communication and loudspeaker systems, avionics consoles, radios, and specialty audio products can support your most demanding missions.
Well, I get more calls about UAS stuff now than almost anything, because it's taken off so much. And my philosophy is the same as what Clay just said. If you're a UAS operator, you are a pilot and a TFO. That is, unless you're working to crew to that UAS, which some agencies are doing. But you're a pilot and a TFO. The piloting of these things has become almost, well, it's very easy. But what they need training in is how to talk, what to look for, how to search, how to use FLIR, what is thermal imaging all about? I mean, that's the stuff that they're lacking. And many of these agencies just go, we're fine. And I go, no, I don't think you are. You spend a lot of money on that equipment. Do your people really know how to use it for searching for missing people, bad guys, people that want to be found, people that don't want to be found? If the answer is no, they don't have a lot of training in that, well, then they better get some. Because if you're going to assign them that mission, they better know how to do it. And the example I always use is walking people in on top of a suspect. Yes. If you're a brand new drone operator and now you're out there and you got a thermal imager and you go, wow, I found a bad guy. There he is. What do you think they're going to do? They're going to walk officers into that thermal
100%
image that they're looking at. And they're going to walk them right on top of it. And only because they don't know any better. They've had no training in that. Every helicopter and fixed wing crew that's been going to classes over the years has learned that that's a mistake. It's a big mistake. And I'm with Clay. I have nightmares thinking about that. I don't want that to happen to anybody, because that will change you forever. If you walk somebody in on that little white blob right there, and it ends up a flash and that officer's down. So I think that some of these organizations were a little slow in getting it together. And part of it was, I think part of it was the drone industry too, saying, well, we don't need those helicopter guys. They're helicopters. This is drones. Well, the similarities are incredible. That they need to have the same training. If I was going to be operating, if I was a sergeant or managing a drone unit, they are all going to Nick's class. All right. Every single one of them. Would be a priority for me, because it's the same. It doesn't matter what that FLIR is attached to. It could be a hot air balloon. It doesn't matter what it's attached to. You're going to have to use certain techniques. You're going to have to know about angles, and you're going to have to know about where bad guys hide, and you're going to have to know about communication.
Yes.
As to when you do find somebody, what do you say? Yep. It's the hardest part of operating a FLIR, and it's always been true. The hardest part has always been not the finding part, but the getting officers to get to that location part. And 100%. It's become easier through technology, no doubt about it, but it's still a learned skill, and it still requires communication. And I don't think a lot of these drone operators think about that. And they'll think about it when they're in it, and they, in the middle of something real. But I think that it seems to be catching up. I just did a short class last year for LEDA, Law Enforcement Drone Association. They were here in Bend, and great turnout, 30, 40 vendors. I mean, it was unbelievable. Probably 150 people in the class. And it's exactly, I think I did 90 minutes. This is what we talked about, the communication thing. I said, I know you can find things. I know you can fly it. I can't. I'm not licensed to fly that, but I do have a little bit of experience in talking to officers and telling them what I'm looking at and where it is. And that's what we talked about. So they're catching on. I think they are. And hopefully these organizations recognize that too and bring the groups together.
It shouldn't be an or piece of technology. It should be an and.
Right. That's exactly right.
And from the get-go, I've always thought, and this is a great resource to be able to fill a segment that the helicopter or the fixed wing cannot achieve.
Yes.
There is a place for it, and the divide that happens, like, we're all responsible for it. We say, oh, drones aren't going to replace us, and then they say, like, you better watch out, we're going to replace you. And no, forget that. Like, we're same team, team, and I truly love you guys. I want the same value that we see from helicopters and fixed wings and hot air balloons, as somebody said, to be drones also, because there is a very valuable spot for that. And I want it done right. So the cops on the ground still are kept safe, because then that means the citizens are kept safe too. So, it should be an and technology. I want to see the divide go away between this is your guys' class, this is our class. There's crossover. I sat in a fire tanker class, right? So it's an and.
And when the hot air balloon thing takes off, just remember, you heard it here on Hangar Z first.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm just saying.
Don't give some agencies ideas.
I know.
But the other part of that too is by integrating the aviation unit and the drone unit, or whatever you want to call it, is identifying strengths and weaknesses amongst the two different technologies, because obviously there's a good employment for call for a drone. There's a good employment, or even if you're integrating together over the same incident, it's not going to be as efficient if you've got both cameras looking at the same area, right? So if there's some areas that a drone is going to be better at working that area, let them work that, and then the helicopter or the airplane works an outer perimeter or whatever it is. But the only way we're going to know that is if we're working together. If again you've got that divide, you can complement each other. And again, John brought it up earlier, is efficiency and effectiveness. We're just going to increase that, because now we're able to search more areas, get drones into areas that maybe we're not going to be able to see from the aircraft. And we're seeing a lot of that now, I think, in throughout the industry, is getting especially those little tiny drones that they can fly into structures. And I was over an incident a few months ago where a guy was in this house. He ended up taking his own life, but again, they were able to put that drone in there, and it's quicker than putting a damn bomb robot like how we used to do, sending a robot in and all that kind of stuff. I mean, they had like one open window. They put this drone in, and within 10 minutes they had this thing resolved, because they got in there and saw that the guy had taken his own life. And so now we didn't have this big drawn out event that's tying up resources. So there's some really good ways to integrate that stuff. And again, we've got to be communicating and working together, and not being like, you stay over in your corner, right, and we'll stay over in ours.
It's funny hearing you guys talk. The one theme that I hear is drones, and that's the one thing that these conferences can do to kind of stay current and relevant in our current climate. Clay, for you guys at Texas DPS have a really good drone integration, at least from an outsider's perspective, drone integration program. What's your kind of outlook and philosophy on all this?
Thank you for the kind words. We've got some folks that are involved in that program that are really talented and have made it what it is. One of the best things that happened is that program, I think we're over 400 drone pilots now, and maybe like 500 units maybe. That's under us. That's under the Aircraft Operations Division. And there's a program manager and there's a captain that handles that, but their chain of command is actually aircraft. And it allows us to work together better. In my office here, a crew just launched on a flight Sometimes there's another crew here. There are TFOs are also drone operators. They'll grab the drone, jump in the Tahoe, and head to the scene because they're going to look under the bridges. They're going to fly a foot off the street and look under all the cars.
Oh, yes.
Because they know as TF, this is where bad guys hide. And I know my buddy Clay up there can't see him in that helicopter. So it's that right there has been the big benefit for us is you've got TFOs in a lot of circumstances flying the drone who are used to doing airborne law enforcement. And Perfect. So I think that's worked well. It's worked well for us. And we still have, highway patrol troopers. That's an ancillary job of theirs. They fly the drone and they shoot an accident scene, but they're reporting their flight logs are the same ones we do in our aviation software. All their pilot currencies, their hours, all that stuff is tracked in AOD. And like I said, I'm never say that it is the way, it's a way, but it's worked well for us.
Yeah. Yeah. They're not going anywhere and they're very effective and complementary to what we're doing in the Clay. I like what you said, the human aviation. So when you kind of expand beyond drones, kind of what I think of is some of these organizations should really consider doing a kind of a poll. What is important to our membership for training? Clay, I'd like to kind of hear your thought on that. And there's a lot of emerging technologies and ways that the organizations can engage their members. How can they do that through these polls? And how do you really figure out where the training is needed?
The engagement's right here. Whether we like it or not, it's podcasts, it's Instagram, it's all of the social networking. That's how you have to engage your audience. And I grew up in a world, and some of these guys here, I'm sure, were the same. I looked forward, but I got Airbeat magazine. That was so cool. I look for it. I still do. It's a wonderful, well done magazine. But now I can get a lot of the content right now on this. And I hope the industry organizations embrace that. I hope they embrace. I'm very excited that Vertical and the publishing company took this on. They're seeing it. They know where this is going. And I think that's what the organizations could do is, you send a 27-year-old cop TFO a poll from SurveyMonkey, they're probably going to delete it. They just are, unless it's 5 questions. I mean, you can do that. I'm not saying they're worthless. I'm just saying we need to do a better job meeting our customers, meeting our people where they are. And I think you get a lot of good feedback from you're getting a lot of good feedback here about what needs to be done. We're out there in the business doing it all the time with a lot of different units. We can tell you what is going on and what people need. Everyone on this screen is well aware of that. So I think that's the key is don't get into that organizational creep. Well, this is what this course has been for 25 years, so it's going to continue to be this. And then also do everything you can to reach the end user in a delivery method that they like and enjoy to process, right? You just don't see, if I come in the hangar, I don't see people reading a magazine unless it's digital. They're reading it online, or they're quickly looking through, Metro Nashville's awesome Instagram page, right? And seeing what they're doing and seeing the comments in there. And then, oh, that guy's on John's podcast. He was talking about this. I think that's where it's at.
Yeah. Love it.
I agree.
Yeah. Nick, thoughts?
Thanks to our sponsor, Summit Aviation, a full-service provider for business, government, parapublic, and military aviation, specializing in maintenance, modifications, avionics, interiors, and paint. Discover more at summit-aviation.com.
Same thing. It's the improving accessibility, right? Just because we've done something the same way for the years past doesn't mean that we need to keep doing it that way. We might keep doing it that way, but at least let's objectively think about it and consider, is there another alternative that works better? And this is where you get all the Rick Harrisons in the room, to start to come up with ideas and have this kind of stuff of well, what works? What are you guys seeing? And some of the best ideas are the ones that I've heard from other people where it's gnawing at them. What would be cool is if we did blank, and you hear it and you go, that is brilliant. Yes, absolutely. Let's do that. So, the big houses, I would say just open-mindedness. Let's make it fun. There are motivated people out there that want to learn. Let's deliver the product. Let's make it fun. Let's make it effective, because when it's fun, it becomes more effective, and just improve that accessibility.
Yeah. I think it's important to tap into the minds of the folks that are new TFOs, whether they're 26 or 36. It's important for us, I think, to talk to them and see, like, hey, what's important to you guys? Because what's important to me may be different than what's important to you based on how we use this technology and how we do the job. So having said that, Jack, for you, what do you see as a way for these organizations to kind of improve their effectiveness in providing training for the overall helicopter industry?
Well, part of it is kind of what you just touched on, John, is that they got to stay on top of what the need is. And I'll just give an example of that. I back that up, not just with my words, but with my actions. I get the question all the time. Well, hey, man, I haven't seen you at ALEA in a long time. Well, I made that choice for a bunch of reasons. But one of the main reason was I thought that I was kind of like getting to be the same old thing. And the industry was changing, and it needed a fresh look, a fresh face, a younger outlook, a newer, just all around. It needed to be updated and new. So I called somebody to see if they were interested, Clay. And he said, are you kidding me? I was like, no. And then I went and said, hey, I'm going to step away. I'm giving you a year notice, but I found my replacement for him because he'd be perfect for this. And it's Clay Lacey. So that's a true story. And that's exactly how it happened. And it was, and the driving force was, I truly believed that we got to keep up. And I don't think I was. And I knew that Clay was on top of it. He's still in the middle of it, doing it every night. So I think that's important for these organizations to keep it fresh, keep it new new ideas, new people involved. And for the people out there that are, maybe in the industry now for a while, you need to step up to the plate and be the next trainer. There's a lot of really good people in airborne law enforcement. Some of the top people in law enforcement are in the aviation sections, and they have a lot of experience, a lot of knowledge, and a lot to give. And some of them happen to be really good trainers too. They need to step up and so that to these organizations and volunteer, because we all started that way, volunteering, to be, out there instructing and sharing their experiences and their knowledge with the newer people. So yeah. I think that's important. And I think most organizations do that, but some get caught into we've done it like this for a long time. These are the instructors here, year after year after year. I think that needs a fresh look.
Yeah. I love that.
I think I'm sorry, John, it triggered what Jack just said, is that, agencies get tired of going to the same, I guess, tired, trainings where it's always the same. It's hard to justify that. And so what we end up with is then you get this, crowd of people in the industry that are, it's just always the same tired old training. And again, well, then step up and let's do something about it. Let's re-energize it and make it what we want it to be. And I think that these discussions like this, Clay is still in the business doing it every day, and he's out there, training. That's who we need in these, organizations to bring that stuff out, is the people that are out there doing it. And if we do that, we're giving back to our industry by doing that. And, I think, like Clay alluded to earlier about, going to the same boring, law enforcement classes all the time, our in-service trainings, and where those never change. I don't know how it is at your guys' departments, but I know at my old department, it was the same class every 18 months. You had to go there. Nothing ever changed. And then we went there and said, well, how about, can we just get like 30 minutes on a day when, between the, 2-hour lunch break and the, driving through the cone pattern out in the parking lot to say that we've done some EVOC training. How about, just a 30-minute blurb where we can go in and talk about perimeters, because I think that's important. That stuff's important. And what it did was it didn't reinvigorate, the training. It was still the same boring training, but there was this 30-minute block where the guys from the air unit showed up and talked about perimeters and utilizing the helicopter and employing the helicopter. Not only did it, I think, maybe give guys a little bit more to think about out there, and those are skills that you're probably going to use on a nightly basis if you're a swing shift or a graveyard cop, is, requesting the helicopter and setting perimeters and stuff. But it also triggered a lot of interest in the aviation unit, because now we were out there and guys were seeing some of the stuff that we were doing, and then hearing us on the radios on a nightly basis doing this stuff. We talked about earlier recruiting and getting guys interested in this job, and there's a lot of challenges to that, in the fact that we work weekends and we work nights, and guys that are more senior don't, they've got their deal going on, and so you really have to I think reach out and show guys, hey, this is what we do and how we do it, because only the guys in the helicopters or the airplanes or they're flying the drones really know what it is to hunt for someone on a thermal imager and find them and direct officers in and coordinate all that. And what we all understand it and understand what is one of the greatest jobs in the world, to be able to do that and do it effectively and safely. But the folks on the ground don't really understand that. They just see that, the helicopter shows up and, looks with their fancy camera and tells us where to go to find the bad guy, and that's it. There's a lot more to it, obviously. And, I think to recruit the right people, get those people into these units, we have to reinvigorate the training. We have to make it engaging, and we have to get out there and tell our story and actively recruit people. And that's the way you do it.
Yeah. I think for the folks out there that are listening, that are like, oh, I've got a good idea for training. Like, how do I make that a reality? And Nick, I'll start with you. What would your advice be for someone who's got an idea and wants to make it a reality? How do you approach APSA, for example, and say, hey, this is some really cool training I think would be helpful? How do I make this a reality?
I'll give you two answers on that. So number one, if they're going to approach APSA, is call up Dan Knight. He's the new training program coordinator. He's super motivated. I talked to him a couple weeks ago about, we're starting to prepare the lineup for APSCon this year for us. We're going to be refreshing some things, speaking of which, but call him up and let him hear your idea. Call me up is going to be the second answer, and let me hear your idea, because, if I can add you to the lineup or I can get you in touch with Dan, or I can help sell it to Dan, it won't take much. I think Dan is, it's his first year being the training program coordinator. He's super motivated to hear all those big ideas. And so between one of us or both of us in some fashion, we'll get your idea to the table. I mean, we want to hear it. It's going to be the best way to add that content. I can't think of all the answers. None of us can. But when we put all the brains together, somebody's going to come up with something that sounds really, really cool. And I guarantee other people are going to want to hear from also.
Yeah. Clay, for you, I mean, you kind of, Jack called you and said, hey, you're it. How did you go from you're
welcome, Clay,
to this is my idea?
Thank you to our sponsor, Robinson Helicopter Company, the choice for unrivaled safety and reliability, so you can accomplish any mission with confidence. For more than half a century, Robinson has been at the forefront of the helicopter industry. From the R-22 to the R-66 turbine, Robinson makes helicopters accessible so more people can accomplish more missions. Climb higher. For additional information, visit www.robinsonheli.com.
Well, Nick hit it on the head on reaching out to Dan. I'm talking to Dan also. They're working hard on putting that together. But I circle back to Jack. Jack is the best in the business, and I learned so much. I probably sat through his full class 6, 8, maybe times, maybe more. Got something new out of it. What I really learned was how to be in the teaching business for the right reason, and how to deliver a message of officer safety and catching bad guys. And it just resonated with me. And so that is what I'd say is, if you're putting a curriculum together, if you're putting a class together, have a mentor, reach out to Nick, reach out to Jack, you guys, and practice this, talk about what works. Nobody sitting here stands up there and reads off slides. We just don't. You can't, not with CODs. And you've got to know your stuff. You've got to know the material, and you've got to know when to say, I don't know, but I'll find out. You know, and that's a big part of it. Is I may not have the answer, but I know. My point is, you need some help in that. And these guys right here on this screen will help you with it all day long. But for me personally, how did I get there? Jack Schonely. Not just asking me to do it, but showing me what right looks like.
Wow.
Amen.
You just made my day. Thank you.
Thank you, buddy.
No, I really appreciate that. Those are the kindest words you can say, because that is the reason. You got to have the right reason to want to do it. Everyone here is doing it for the right reasons, because we want to get the information out to keep cops safe and to make bad guys go to jail. That's what we signed up for. That's why we're doing it. And I can tell you that it started for me with a mentor, Rick Lowen, who saw something in me and said, hey, you ought to put that together and put that into a class form. That what we talk about in the cockpit, finding bad guys. Oh, okay. CHP aircrew course. California Highway Patrol did an aircrew course years ago. They do it annually. And Rick had been teaching there for a while. That's how I started. I did a 1 hour block, became a 2 hour block, became a 4 hour block. Next thing you know, I contact somebody from ALEA is in one of the classes and says, hey, you should share that at a conference, at a regional, at a regional training. And then it became the national training. And next, it just grew on its own. So the keys are exactly what Nick said, exactly what Clay said. I would just add that you've got to be enthusiastic about your topic. You better know about your topic.
Right.
You better be able to back it up, because cops will see that in a heartbeat.
So true.
I just saw a podcast the other day. Jeff Meyer is a canine guy. He's a retired Denver canine guy. He's a friend of mine. And he talked about this, about how resumes, you better be able to back it up. And Nick can relate to this in the canine world. There's a lot of canine people out there that have some really interesting resumes. And then you dig a little deeper and you find out, man, maybe it's not quite there. That's true in every profession. But my point is that he did that podcast without a sponsor that day, because he knew he was going to piss people off. But he was told the truth. And I called him immediately and said, dude, that was fantastic. Good for you for saying that, because it's important in law enforcement to be able to back it up and say, well, this is exactly what I have done in this area that I'm about to share information with you. And so I think that's important. And there's thousands of cops out there right now in law enforcement aviation that have those qualifications to make this happen. They find a niche, they find something that they really enjoy, that they specialize in, run with it. Don't be scared. Dive in. Write an article for Airbeat. Contact Dan. Dan's a great guy.
Vertical.
I've known Dan for years. Really important to
vertical.
Yeah. Well, that was on my list that I'm getting to, because that happened too for me, where next thing you know, I'm talking to Mike Reno. And next thing you know, I'm writing an article. This is a long time, for like 14 years ago, I think it is. And I wrote an article and it ends up in Vertical. Next thing you know, there's this, hey, can you write another one on this topic? Hey, whenever you think of a topic, let us know. That stuff evolves, but you got to take that leap and don't be scared to take it. And once you're in it, it's going to grow. And the reason I said to Clay, you're welcome, is because Clay found, I warned him. I said, get ready, dude. You're going to do this and it's going to take off. You better be ready, because it's going to take off and it's going to grow. And there's going to be all sorts of people calling you. And that has happened. Correct, Clay? And that's a good thing. The more people that hear it, the better. Nick's experienced that too. You start, and next thing you know, it just grows and grows and grows. And people are calling you from all over the world. And you're going, oh my gosh, how do they even know about me? Mm-hmm. Well, they do. And they want the information. So take the leap. Find something that you're passionate about, enthused about, and take the leap and go. And there's a lot of expertise out there that needs to come out.
Yeah.
I thought the best part was at Echo in Austin when Clay showed up, and he was like, I don't even know if anybody's even going to show up to my damn class. And we had that panel discussion first, and Clay was up there. And of course, Clay's just so damn engaging all the time, when he's up in front of a group of people, or even just sitting with John and I at a barbecue restaurant. But, and then the day of his class, he thought, it's just going to be you and John in there, and you guys are going to just sit in there and mock me and everything.
We were ready,
standing room. And yeah, we did. But it was standing room only, and it was all, for the most part, EMS air crews and stuff that were in there, but they had heard him talk already. And then they went to this class, and yeah, he's talking about an inadvertent IMC event and, crew coordination, which is obviously hugely important in any aviation, crewed environment. But it was standing room only, and it was because of Clay's message and because of his delivery. And so you picked a good replacement, Jack, because
I know I did.
Agreed.
I know I did. I did that with confidence, believe me. I would have never done that if I didn't know, because I cared about that TFO class a great deal, and I still do. But I knew that it could be better, and I knew that Clay was the one that could make that better. And so all I needed to hear from him was, yeah, I'm willing. And then I called and said, hey, I got my replacement. Boom. And here we are.
Yeah.
But, it's funny you mentioned that, because I'm kind of at places sometimes where you were, where, I really had to change my vehicle pursuit class. And to see guys like Nick, they've come out with some really innovative content on the street takeovers, right? Which is all a byproduct of us not doing what we used to do 25 years ago, going and chasing these bad guys and throwing them in jail. So now we're going to take over intersections. You've got to adjust. And we're still supporting the men and women that are going to those things. And how do we do it? And that's where it takes new people coming in. And, you've got Mike Calhoun writing a great book, Training Through Chaos, on TFO training. He has now codified some things just like you did with your book. But man, you're right. We need the next group to come on and share their patrol experiences, because I love to hear about Jack Schonely policing in LAPD in the 90s, but that's not where it is now.
Nope.
Right.
And not bad, not worse, not better, but we need that. I need that fresh perspective, because I go on calls now where I'm flying and I'm just like screaming out the window, not at the TFO, but at the ground. It's like, we would have solved this problem 5 minutes ago. Like, what are we doing? So anyway, I'm experiencing some of those same things, Jack.
Mike Calhoun's a great example.
Yeah.
I mean, I told him too, when he was doing the book, I said, get ready, Mike, get ready, because this is going to take off. He had a great angle and a great philosophy on a topic that's been around a long time, but he had a new way of looking at it. I said, stand by. This is going to take off, and you're going to be pulled in multiple directions. And I hope, and it is happening. And that's good, because it's good information.
Yeah.
It's great information.
Right. I think about the folks that are in aviation in general. When you look at law enforcement, it's the top 1% of the people that are in law enforcement overall. So typically you have the most, advanced folks, the most energetic folks, the most intellectual folks going to aviation of our population in law enforcement. So I encourage you all, if you find yourself in that position, you're new to aviation or you've been there for a little bit, start considering some of these topics that have come up and what these guys have said. How can your experience benefit the overall community? Because there's a lot of ways you can do that. And we're not going to be here forever. I'm on the upper end of our community, and for the folks that are brand new there, you've got some time to spend. So think about, how can you be that replacement? What do you have to offer the community? And it's your turn to step up and fill that gap, because it's important to be relevant. It's important to stay fresh. And so I encourage you to either reach out to us, reach out to an organization, APSA, ECHO, HAI, and say, hey, this is an idea I have. How do I do this? So that's my kind of 2 cents for that. Nick, I don't know if we've heard your kind of thought on this topic as we've progressed through.
As far as just how do you get your idea out there?
Yeah.
Well, I mean, at the end of the day, the motivation's on you. All I'm going to do is echo everything that everybody said here, because they're all great points. But, maybe the one thing the last thing I'll add is that if you just don't like public speaking, and don't let that idea go to waste, like call one of us, tell us what your idea is, and we'll turn it into a presentation and go out there and teach it for you. But there's just so many avenues that you could get that idea out that somebody's going to benefit from, whether you write an article or a blog post or you do a presentation, or, it starts with like, even you want to just teach for 90 minutes. You can do that at like an AppsCon. They've got all kinds of slots usually that you can make that happen and kind of test out your material. But you have to, your motivation has to come from wanting to share that information with other people to keep the good guys safe and the bad guys in jail. And if you don't, then that just, does everybody a disservice. So don't let something as simple as like, just public speaking, or you're afraid of that it's not going to be a hit, take off, because no matter what, there's going to be somebody that goes, wow, I've never heard this class before. Because you have a take on, I don't know, using Cylum sticks for, on a search and rescue mission, or God knows what. Like, that's an idea that I want to hear about. And, like I said, I have FOMO, and I don't feel like my learning, fear missing out, or those young kids, I don't feel like my learning really took off until I started teaching. And then when I got the chance to just meet and work with agencies from all over the world, that's where I felt like things really started to excel, as far as having that like deep understanding of police tactics, especially in my assignment now. I feel like I have that, both the perspective from the top, perspective from the ground, and then perspective, through both of them, and now through the supervisor standpoint and all that. But that came from just integrating with as many people as possible, going to the classes, keeping the open mind. But it also took somebody like Jack writing his book, or Clay coming up with his courses and his takes on things, and John starting the podcast with Jeff. Like, somebody had to take that idea and put it out for the rest of us to benefit. So it really is for the greater good. But also, I'll encourage you, it's for your own good too, because when you get out and you start teaching, that's when you really start getting better at your own personal tactics. So if anything, if it's just a selfish reason, go do it for that, because God knows it's not for pay. I'll tell you that much.
That's for sure.
Right?
I'd say all the time that, I'm a better building searcher right now
Yes.
than I ever was. And I've been retired for 7 years.
Yeah.
But I'm a better builder searcher right now. Why? Because I'm teaching it, and you learn through teaching it. I'm a better shooter right now than I ever was as a full-time cop. Why? Because I'm doing it a lot, and I'm training in it, and I'm learning things. Just like every CFI will tell you, they become a better pilot, but because they're teaching. So I love that. I love that you said that, Nick. It's very true, and it's certainly true in all the aspects of law enforcement. You get involved in instruction, and you're going to get better yourself.
Yeah.
No doubt about that at all.
Yeah.
Big time.
Well, Clay, he brought up a book. When is your book coming out?
Yeah, Clay.
Yeah, I'm not confident in that, right? I'm still, believe it or not, it's very outwardly one thing, but I'm still very self-conscious and lack self-confidence in a lot of things. It's just kind of the way it is. So there's other people that can, to me, Mike, writing that TFO selection is something that is a big part of the courses that I teach, because it's this mythical thing that no one can get a handle on, and the attrition rate's high, and who are we picking and why are we picking them? And then he comes out and writes it.
Yeah.
If you'll follow that program, you're going to put good TFOs and give them every opportunity to be successful. Yep. And then you send them to these two guys, Nick and Jack's stuff. I'm telling you, like the end of the week, those guys can be at least operational. And so no books for me. No book.
Man, I think each one of you should be writing a book, and the memoirs, at least the stories would be, if not funny, educational, and all of them in between.
Stories, John.
Can't write the good ones.
No, you want to be in federal prison or have someone triggered it, please.
Canine handler in the 90s. No, sir. Not writing anything.
All right, point taken. Well, man, this has been amazing conversation. Tons of stuff to consider. And, the bottom line is at the end of the day, we're trying to be more efficient, effective, and you guys are making that happen through your training. So thank you for the efforts you put forward. As you guys said, it's not for the money because, we're not millionaires. You're not millionaires as a result of what you're doing. You're doing it because you're passionate and you love the men and women that are doing the job day to day. So thank you guys for that. Jeff, any closing thoughts before we finish this out?
No, I love being able to talk to you guys, whether it's in person or virtually like this. I always learn so much, and I really appreciate everything that all of you guys, including you, John, are doing to contribute to the industry. It's hugely important, and I think we know that we need to more, like John said, we're not going to be here forever. So the next generation needs to start stepping up and getting in contact with Clay so he can throw somebody under the bus and make them the absent guy like Jack did to him years ago. So, but
who will it be?
It's just refreshing to hear your guys' perspectives. Everybody here has a passion for our industry, and it really shows. And I'm just honored to be able to sit amongst you guys and talk. So thank you.
Yeah,
Agree.
Thank you, Jeff.
Echo that,
Jeff.
Nick, any closing thoughts?
Oh man, Jeff said it the best. It's an honor for me, and just to sit amongst the Titans in the room, and I think it's very cool to see the like-mindedness and that we all share the same passion of doing it for the right reasons. This isn't called up our buddy at the academy so we could go do some teaching and get the overtime money, and it's the ability to have the interfacing and the interactions with the entire worldwide airborne law enforcement community is a pretty awesome thing and something that I hold very dearly. So Thank you for making this happen and taking the time and letting me be a part of it.
Absolutely. You brought up worldwide, and that's 100% the case. Harold Brink, bringing him on board, what a asset to you and the overall industry as a whole. What he's doing in Europe is groundbreaking, and I admire him for doing that. And I admire you for bringing him on board and making him a part of the cadre of instructors that are doing that. Because that's really important, what we're experiencing here. And we talked about it earlier. It's no different in California than it is in Amsterdam or Italy or South Africa or anywhere in the world. We're all protecting our citizens and brothers and sisters in the ground. So great point. Jack, for you.
Just thanks for getting us all together. It's good to see everybody, and we can't say it enough. It's for the right reasons. Yeah. Doing it for the right reasons is so important, and keeping officers safe is a good feeling. Yeah. It's a good feeling knowing that we all had input on that, and there's no greater reward. Yeah. None.
Yeah.
Yep.
100%.
Agree.
Well, looking around the room, we all got that our red shining Z's, well, except for Nick.
I have it.
But look how cool.
I'm going to go get it.
Though. There, Nick has to do. You better do
it. Downstairs. Go downstairs and get it.
Go downstairs and get it, Nick.
Oh no, he's going to do it.
I just wanted him to walk down the stairs.
Down the stairs, Nick.
He didn't pick up on that.
No, he missed that.
Well,
he is going to get it.
Nick won't hear this, but I think what it represents is our desire for improvement and the betterment of our industry as a whole, and our passion for what we're doing. So thank you guys for being a part of the Hangar Z podcast. Thank you for the contributions you all have made to the industry, in my life in particular. You made me a better operator. Oh, here he comes.
He was shamed.
You guys made me a better operator, both in the TFO. Oh, it's
Yeah.
There you go.
The Freddy Krueger.
He's going to hold it.
Oh, that's great.
Hell yeah.
I was just thanking you guys for your contributions to the industry. That's kind of scary, actually.
Producer Zach is looking at this right now, going, "What? This has gone out of control.
We've lost it."
2 hours and 40 minutes in, and they're just completely lost it.
But you guys have made a huge impact on the community, and I talked about this, I think, when we were at HAI with Jack and Clay. I'm like, if you look at the folks in this room collectively, how many bad guys have you guys put in prison for doing bad things to people. It's really impressive to think about, and there's no way to even answer that. There's absolutely no way. But that's just an example of what we're doing and how we're impacting not just the places that we live, but our community worldwide through the lessons that you guys have taught through your training. So thank you guys very much, and look forward to breaking some bread and fellowshipping somewhere real soon.
Agreed.
Sounds good.
So cheers, you guys, and we'll catch you later.
Cheers, everybody.
Cheers.
Guys.
All right. See ya. Cheers. This is the end of our 3-part series with Jack Schonely, Clay Lacey, and Nick Minx. Stand by for a message after a word from our sponsors.
Thanks to our sponsor, Anodyne Electronics Manufacturing, a leading manufacturer of trusted special mission avionics for law enforcement, aerial firefighting, and utility operators. Visit www.aem-corp.com and learn how AEM's digital communication and loudspeaker systems, avionics consoles, radios, and specialty audio products can support your most demanding missions. Thanks to our sponsor, Summit Aviation, a full-service provider for business, government, parapublic, and military aviation, specializing in maintenance, modifications, avionics, interiors, and paint. Discover more at summit-aviation.com. Thank you to our sponsor, Robinson Helicopter Company, the choice for unrivaled safety and reliability, so you can accomplish any mission with confidence. For more than half a century, Robinson has been at the forefront of the helicopter industry. From the R-22 to the R-66 turbine, Robinson makes helicopters accessible so more people can accomplish more missions. Climb higher. For additional information, visit www.robinsonheli.com.
Thank you for joining us for this important 3-part series on training. If you cannot attend training at one of the industry conferences, you should look to host or attend a regional training fly-in or the web-based e-courses offered by Tactical Flying. If you're looking for information on training being provided by Jack Schonely, Clay Lacey, or Nick Minx, you can go to officertactics.com to contact Jack. You can email Lieutenant Clay Lacey directly at clay.lacey@gmail.com, and you can go to tacticalflying.com to contact Nick Minx.
Time to close up the hangar. Thanks for joining us on the Hangar Z podcast, brought to you by Vertical Helicasts.